Good day to everyone. It's Betting Weekly Live. You're here with Steve Wyss, Nigel Seeley, and our man in Madrid, Ruairidh Barlow. Welcome aboard, Rory. First time we've seen you this season. How's it going out there?
Yeah, delighted to be on. Just about surviving the summer. I haven't melted yet, but I do feel a bit like a bar of chocolate, and I'm certainly going that way. Put me in the fridge.
That's how Nigel Seeley might be feeling on going to New York soon, Nigel.
Well,
it's going to be pretty hot out there, I'd imagine.
It's very hot today. It's the hottest day of the year in New York. It's in the high 90s, very humid. The tennis action is just about to start. Head across to the Bet Rivers website now. You get all the latest live in-running play. But as typical, whenever myself and Sean Calvert decide to go to a tennis tournament, the forecast for the next 5 days is a lot of rain. So, we might not. But the thing is, I can always find a bar to go to. I can always find myself something to do during the rain in New York. I don't think I'm going to be worried too much about it. But today is the hot day, very, very hot. And I think that's going to play a big, big factor today in the matches that we're going to see throughout the action on the men's and the women's draw in New York, with the action just about to start now.
That might mean that you have to put up with a week of moaning from Sean Calvert, Nige.
What's different? What's different for the last 51 weeks of the year? I mean, what's different from the last 50? Nothing ever goes. If it was 100 degrees and we complain it was too hot. If it was raining and cold, it became too cold. There's nothing different with Mr. Calvert. I'm sure you will all know, and everyone who's watched the Game Bet Match podcast would stand by that theory of mine as well. So no, it's normal, isn't it?
He's been in some form though, hasn't he? Some good form, Sean Calvert, this week. There's a latest episode out on which came out 22 hours ago. I don't know how much quite is still relevant from that episode, Nigel, but we're heading towards second, third round now at Flushing Meadows?
Yeah, we're starting the second round today. Action starts just now. And there's 3 matches on court in the men's and 4 matches on court in the women's play. Head across to the Bet Rivers website. As I say, the live matches will just be turning to live. You may have a chance to watch the podcast. Sean is keen on a few bets. And the first 2 matches of the tournament so far, he's made profit on both days, which is good. We've had some nice plus money winners, including a Common Sana at plus 250. And he's very keen on Common Sana today, not to win the match, a little bit later on at 2, about 3 o'clock Eastern time this afternoon. He plays Ugo and Bear. He likes Common Sana total games. Bet Rivers have 32 different markets available on that match, but he likes Common Sana games. You can go over and under. He likes the Argentinian to go over on the line there. I quite like the total games in that match at 32.5, but we're getting with Common Sana. He's a big underdog today against Ugo and Burr. But the action starts now, and I just got to go through a couple of matches now before we have time. There's a women's match starting now, and I think that's the match I quite like. It's between Peyton. Well, the match I first like is the match between Badosa, a Spanish player that Rory will probably know. She's up against Taylor Townsend. There's been money for Taylor Townsend today, and I'm not really sure why, because Badosa is playing well. She's a glamour girl in Spain. She's on the front pages for her relationship with Stefanos Tsitsipas. That seems to have fizzled out. There's always one side of a relationship that gets better, the breakup, the other one doesn't do so well. And Stefanos Tsitsipas is not doing so well, but Badosa's having the best time of her life. So she's having a great run at the moment with her form, and she's playing Taylor Townsend. Taylor Townsend is a player I've watched many times. She has a little bit of a problem with her physicality. She's quite big, and I think in long matches, I don't think she's going to really have the energy to go with Badosa, and it's a very, very hot day today. So there has been some money for Taylor Townsend, the American player, which would you expect with the American sportsbook. The American bettors like to get behind their men and women in tennis, but I think Badosa minus 3.5 here at minus 110. I think she'll cover that. They've met once before, and she won very, very easily in straight sets, and that was in similar conditions to what they're going to play today in the Australian Open. She covered the 3.5 very, very easy. So I like Badosa. That's my pick today. I also like American. This time I like an American to win. I like Peyton Stearns. A little bit later on this afternoon, the American plays a player, Kastakina. And Kastakina's not in the best of form. She's had problems with injury. Peyton Stearns is a player that I think is on the up. She trails the head-to-head 3-1, but she did win their last meeting, and that is an important factor. I know it was on the clay surface, but the conditions aren't as quick as you would expect over in given the weather and given the US Open. A lot of players come off and say it's quite slow. And I give Peyton Stearns a chance today. So 2 picks for me on the women's. One now live. Head across to the Bet Rivers website now. It's live in play. I'm going to go for Badosa minus 3.5 to beat Taylor Townsend. And a little bit later on today, Peyton Stearns at plus money to upset Daria Kastakina. If you want the men's action, there is a podcast, as you said there, Steve. Game bet matches available now on the YouTube channel. You'll be able to get Sean's picks. They're a little bit later on this afternoon. And we've just recorded a show for the matches on Thursday. We'll drop later on today. So lots of tennis action coming your way. But they're my 2 picks on the women's draw.
Yeah, that is on the upcoming section on the BetRivers website. Taylor Townsend against Paula Badosa. Badosa minus 250 on the money line. Taylor Townsend plus 195. That match is just about to start, so do be quick. I mean, you mentioned there about the speed and the surface here at the Flushing Meadows. It was expected to be really, really fast, wasn't it, Nigel? Have the conditions kind of surprised you here? And if the rain does come next weekend, as is predicted, how will that change things?
Well, it's going to drop by about 10 degrees from today to tomorrow. So it's going to be a lot cooler, a lot fresher rain for the weekend. It should make it slower. From what I saw, I didn't think it was really that slow. But Sean is the man with all the data. He broke down the figures today and told me that it was a lot slower than what it was last year. But from the eye test, when you watch on the television, it doesn't actually appear to be that slow. But the data is telling me it's slow. The difference is that the women's draw are playing with a different balls to the men's draw. And the women's is actually quicker. They've got quicker balls. We're in 2025. Women have got quicker balls, but anyway, I think they are playing with much quicker balls. So that means now that the women's draw may be a little bit quicker. So don't look at the men's stats. I think the women's game still goes for Sabalenka. I think she's going to be. So the players who are big servers, the player are power hitters. I think on the women's draw have a chance. The slower players may have a little bit of advantage here, but it's still quick. It's medium to fast. It's not like a clay court. It's medium to fast, but it is slightly lower than last year. I mean, I just want to talk to Roy a little bit about. I mean, he's over in Madrid. You've got Carlos Alcaraz now, who's the tournament favourite here to win this. He's won Wimbledon. He's won the French Open. I mean, Nadal was the man in Spain. What's it like now with Alcaraz? Is he sort of taken over that mantle? Is he the man that everyone wants to meet? Is he like huge star? Is it crazy over in Madrid with the US Open coming up?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Carlos Alcaraz is everybody's sweetheart, basically. I think he's not even the man that everybody loves and wants to be around, because he kind of gets on like a boy. He's still kind of got that boyish smile. I think you see kind of his tears after he lost to Djokovic in the Olympics. That was really endearing to everyone. And I think everyone just kind of feels like he's one of their own. In my kind of block of flats, you can hear, it is somewhat painful at times when you're watching the tennis and you can kind of hear the shots kind of going through somewhere else. Because if there's a big cheer and your TV's ever so slightly behind, then you know exactly where the point's gone. But yeah, Alcaraz is. So
we know that Rory's got a dodgy fire stick. We know that straight away. we know that Rory's got.
At this point, I'm going to have to decline to comment, Nigel. No, Alcaraz is definitely the man. You see him at all the celebrity events. Footballers are hanging out with him. He is definitely celebrity number one in Spain at the minute.
Yeah, I've been to America, watched him a few times in Miami. It's incredible when he turns up, and he has got that boyish charm. There's a great video where he goes to an award ceremony when Lionel Messi comes in and wants a picture of him. It's fantastic. If you haven't seen it on YouTube, watch it. But he's the tournament favourite. I don't think I've said on this show, I don't think he's 100% fit. I think he set out his target of the year to win the Wimbledon, and the French Open was his number one target. So I think it's a tournament we could have some shocks here. But today I'm concentrating purely on the women's. And Sean Calvert will have the picks on the men's, which is available on the podcast. If you want to put the link up there, Steve, if you get a chance to put it on the thing,
I've just put it up there. I'll tell you what, Nigel, there's been a lot of money wagered on this US Open. It's a huge betting event. We knew it was going to be. Just some figures from yesterday. There was $100,000 placed on Danielle Collins against Caroline Dolida over 29.5 games. That was a live bet, and it lost by half a game, I do believe. 100,000 also on Iga Swiatek against Kamila Ramikova over 19.5 games. That one won live. So you win, you give us and take us, don't you? 57,000 here on Katie Bolter. The Katie Bolter game yesterday over 28.5 games. So, I mean, there's a lot of live money going on the US Open now. That's becoming a more popular trend in all sports, to be fair. Are you a live better on tennis much, Nigel?
I'm a better on it. I'm a better live pre-match futures. I bet on everything. If there's value, I bet on it. I think the fact is that that $100,000 bet on Collins must have been at the start of the final set. So usually 10 games is the fight, like, or maybe at 1-1 in the final set, and they've got in. They felt very, very short with Collins running out of gas at the end. That was a shock result. So you would have thought at one stage you would have cashed on there. The Świątek match is quite a good strategy at the moment, I think, because Iga Świątek is priced up as 18.5, 17.5, 19.5 in the high teens on the total games, but she is nowhere near the Iga Świątek that we've seen throughout 2024. She's not at her peak here. And if you look at her matches in recent weeks, a lot of them are cashed overs, and Bet Rivers are still pricing her up as like peak Świątek at 18.5, 19.5. So I think that's a very, very wise trend to have, not only this tournament, but through the remainder of the season. So yeah, I like that. I mean, but in play betting is where it's at. You can see the players, you know where you're going, and people can watch and have a chance. Pre-match, you got to think, it could all be over in 25 minutes, but in the especially on the women, but in play, you know where you're going. And there'll be lots of in-play action, and the in-play action is just about to start, and Taylor Townsend is just about to hold the first game in serve against Paula Badosa. So tennis action is underway in New York.
Yeah, the biggest bets pre-game when we got the data through an hour or two ago today. Grigor Dimitrov to win the first set, money line -370. Novak Djokovic also same bet, about $3,000 on those. But it looks like the big money is really going on live. And well, we're going to let you go, Nigel. Safe trip, because you're heading over to New York, and we're going to be following your progress on Instagram. Get following that account.
Yeah, follow us, myself and Sean at Because We'll Be in. I'll be flying out tomorrow. Sean, he's going on he's on a cattle boat. He's going on Saturday. He'll be there in 3 weeks' time. I'm going first class, sipping the champagne in the lounge. So I think Sean might just make it before the tournament ends, but hoping so he does. But there'll be loads of content coming your way over there. Not only that, obviously in the football as well. Keep watching the shows. Oh, wait, this guy he likes Echeverry. That was a bet just about. So I've gone over. I've actually bet over 39.5 games in that match. They played 7 times before, and it's 4-3. 2 countrymen going at it, Serendou and Echeverry. I think that could be a long match. 5 setters all the way in that match. But follow us at Because We Win. Good luck tonight, and Rory, good luck with the Spanish football. Steve, keep up the good work, and I'll see you all when I'm back. Take care.
Yeah, we'll be back. Give us 10, 20 seconds, and we'll be back. Me and Rory are going to discuss all the soccer today. But thanks very much, Nigel. Have a great time over there in New York. See you soon. And that is Nigel Seeley. Hope he has a great time over there in New York City. Rory, we have got the stage for ourselves now, and we're going to be talking about the midweek round in La Liga in Spain and some Champions League qualifiers. So the round started on Monday night with a crazy game, the Villarreal-Celta Vigo contest. Villarreal looked like a fantastic watch all year. They could be overs blind, but yesterday was a little bit more low scoring. We've got 4 matches on today. I'm going to put these games on screen now. We've got 2 of these. The top 2 fixtures kick off at 1 p.m. Eastern time, and the other 2 kick off at 8:30 local time, so 3:30 Eastern there. Athletic Bilbao against Valencia. That's my best bet of the day. I'll talk about that in a minute. Valladolid against Leganes. Atletico Madrid against Espanyol. And Real Sociedad against Alaves. Now, I personally, Rory, my best bet of the day is in this Valencia game. Valencia travel to Athletic Club Bilbao. I actually like both teams to score yes here at a plus money price, plus 105 with Bet Rivers. It surprised me that this is more the price that has sucked me in, really. But it surprised me because I've watched both teams this season, especially Valencia fixtures seem really wide open to me. I don't really think much of their defence, if I'm being honest with you. And I think my only doubt is if they can actually get on the score sheet themselves, because Athletic Club, they can defend on their day, can't they? But they have a knack of conceding random goals. So, this is not a huge play for me. My best bet of the day yesterday went up in flames in the Champions League. So I'm a little bit a bit cautious today, but I do think this should be minus money. I think this should be about minus 120, minus 125 personally. What do you think of Valencia this season? Because I'm a little bit worried about their defense.
Yeah, it's quite a big game for both teams in the end, because look, Valencia, who, they're not expected to do huge things, but they're bottom of the table after 2 games, got beaten by 3-1 by Celta Vigo, which is quite a poor result from their point of view, even though Celta have been in fine form Obviously, both of them have lost to Barcelona, and Athletic Club couldn't beat 17-man Getafe. What do I mean by that is the fact that Getafe only had 17 players at the time. So they only had 6 players on the bench, didn't have any strikers. So it's not been a good sign for Valverde. I think Athletic have not quite been the same side ever since they won that Copa del Rey. You talk about kind of trophy hangovers. They did go out and celebrate quite wildly for about 4 or 5 days, perhaps even weeks. So yeah, there is something of that coming over. But I do think Athletic should have the quality in this one. Like you say, Steve, the defense hasn't quite been there for Ruben Baraja. And that's, again, something that kind of held over from last season. I think Valencia do have the pieces in defense, but they're going to have to kind of refocus. Georgi Mamadishvili has just gone to Liverpool. It's a big signing for them, but he's going to stay there for the coming season. Mosquera has just come back from the Olympics. So there's a few moving pieces in this game. I think I like Athletic to win this one eventually. And at -159, it's just about how do you get kind of the value on that? How do you work out where you're going to kind of increase your odds there? I think, yeah, both teams to score is not a bad one to look at, Steve.
So what would you give a correct score prediction for that game?
I think for me, it's probably you're looking at 2-0, 2-1 is where you're gonna come unstuck, Steve. Is if that first goal goes in and Athletic are kind of content to kind of control the game and not really go after it, that might be a problem. Also, this is the first kind of midweek round of the season, so what are we going to see in terms of rotations? From what we've seen so far in La Liga, it's hot, it's sweaty, the players are not quite fine-tuned, so we've seen more goals, and I think that does work in your favor in a sense as well. So yeah, I think 2-1 is probably where I would go if it was correct score.
The second match is a game which I've got to be honest, I've not actually seen any of these two teams play yet. Valladolid against Leganes, 2 promoted clubs. Not much market movement here. The goal line's really low. It's expected to be a low-scoring contest, maybe a 0-0 contender. Don't really know a lot about either team yet. I've not seen enough of them, Rory. Don't know if there was really any bet on that you would like for this game, or is it just a swerve?
Well, that's why I'm here, Steve, is because I am a sicko, as they would say, as the Grinch would say, for this kind of thing. I love these kind of games because I think this is going to be a tie. Plus 200 is really good money back for that. You're going to make a good profit if you go down that way. Both of these 2 teams came up from Segunda last season. They drew both games last season as well, 0-0, 1-1. So it was, yes, as Simon is saying, it is kind of a good place to look at. And you look at the kind of goal scoring prowess or lack of from both of these teams. Neither of these sides have a really kind of clinical striker. That's where my worries come from them for the season. So I think that's something you have to factor in into this game as well, especially Leganes will go away and think a point is great news here. Do Valladolid have the power to kind of break them down? Also, you look at both of these teams are kind of sides that don't necessarily want the ball, so that can kind of lead to kind of chippy games back and forth in midfield without too much going on in the boxes. Plus 200 to tie, that's where I really kind of like it, Steve.
Yeah, that's a very good point. It does feel like a cagey game. I don't think neither want to lose it. Could be a no-goal scorer contender, maybe, but 1-1 also very, very possible. We've got the next game we're going to talk about, Atletico Madrid against Espanyol. I can tell you the 2 biggest soccer wagers of the day pre-game at the time of recording, an hour ago anyway, are on this game. And Atletico Madrid draw no bet. Nearly a $20,000 bet has been placed on them. It's at -1250, so it's a pretty safe one. But big bet there on Atletico Madrid, draw no bet. And also over 2.5 goals has been back, $5,000. I like this one at -114. $5,000 on that. I would. I think I'm going to have a nibble myself on the overs here because they've become an over team now, Atletico Madrid. Now, a lot of people are not aware of it because they just think of reputation, but they are. I mean, their squad is full of goals. They play a bit more open. Espanyol, a newly promoted team. This should really be one-way traffic, right?
Yeah, it really should be. And I think as well, Manolo Gonzalez, who's the Espanyol manager, this is kind of his first go in La Liga. Certainly, he kind of took over the job in the last 3 months of last season and got Espanyol up through the playoffs. He did a really good job in that sense, but he is quite inexperienced at this level. And so I think he's coming to terms with it. Espanyol are still trying to get people through the door, so that's playing into it. And so far, we've not really seen much to suggest that they're going to pick up a result here, especially you look at Valladolid. Valladolid kind of had their way with Espanyol last week, and Espanyol have not really looked too good. So I expect Atletico to win. Again, you're looking at value. I don't know if Steve is planning a 5K wager, that would really put the cat amongst the pigeons. But yeah, I think I like Atleti to win. The way I was looking at this for value was Atleti plus Espanyol not to score. That was at -134. And if you really want to kind of go after Espanyol not to score plus over 1.5 goals and Atleti to win, that's +128. And that isn't great odds for kind of a triple. It's not brilliant for having three things on your parlay, but I do quite like it. And I think that's really the most likely result, is that Atleti win this game. Atleti, you saw them try and keep it really, really tight in that second game against Girona. I expect Simeone to release the pit bull, Conor Gallagher, who, as he's been nicknamed in Spain. And I expect Atleti to win this one quite comfortably, to be honest.
The -1 Asian handicap there's been quite a bit of significant money for them today, which suggests a lot of bettors are thinking 2-0 could be on the cards here. I say I quite like the over, but also, Atletico Madrid to win 0 wouldn't shock me. 3 or 4-0 could be possible here. I've noticed Espanyol are already quite underachieving on their XG, but it's very early in the season for that sort of data. Your best bet of the day is coming up now in the Real Sociedad game against Alaves. Last season, Real Sociedad were not good for this show. On any show, no one could hardly win on them. I think eventually we managed to get the odd win here and there. So I'm kind of treading very cautiously with them. Alaves, could it be second season syndrome for them? -155 on the money line, Real Sociedad. That's not that bad a price, really, is it? At home against Alaves. But you found a bit of value to bump up that price even more.
Yeah, I'm going to go with some logic slightly from last season. So yeah, take this with a metaphorical pinch of salt if you do want to do so. But yeah, under 3.5 goals plus Real Sociedad to win gets you -104 back. I think that's the most likely result here again. I mean, Real Sociedad, I think the cat was released amongst the pigeons in their first game when they lost 2-1 at home to Rayo. That was really a result that nobody could have seen coming. Rayo hadn't won at home away from home in 3 months. Real Sociedad, who are losing Mikel Merino, still haven't got a striker through the door. People started to really worry, but they responded with a 1-0 win against Espanyol. They were pretty dominant in that game. And Alaves, as much as I quite like them as a team, we're still yet to see where their goals are coming from as well. So I think low-scoring game. I think Real Sociedad at home midweek. I think that's one of the things that I always look out for is these midweek games, the teams that are lower down the table, that don't have the resources to rotate 4 or 5 players kind of comfortably without losing too much quality. This can really kind of take its toll, especially in the summer heat as it is right now. So yeah, I like Real Sociedad to come out on top of this one. If you just want to back at I think it was -159, -155 there, that's pretty safe as well. But under 3.5 goals, I think I cannot see it being a shootout, but you never know.
Q-Shell's right there. You could have a look at Atletico -2.5 on the Asian handicap. One thing I'll say, because it's midweek, sometimes these teams just want to get the bare minimum and get the job done. So it wouldn't totally shock me if it was sort of an older version of Atletico de Madrid. But at 2-0, 3-0, I just feel 3-0 is, again, very much on the cards, just like at the weekend. Welcome in to everyone else. Claudio, I hope you're doing well. And yeah, he's absolutely right. Sweden and Norway have been very inconsistent results this season. Malmo last night kind of proved that as well in Europe. We're going to finish off the show by talking about some Champions League qualifying, and this is the final round, the final leg before we get the draw on Friday, where we're going to have a new group stage for the Champions League. We've got Qarabag against Dinamo Zagreb. That's kicking off in about an hour, 12:45 Eastern time in Azerbaijan then, and then the other 3 games are kicking off at 3 p.m. Eastern. Slavia Prague against Lille, Slovan Bratislava against FC Midtjylland. RJ has got a pick in that game on the X account on Twitter, so do check that one out. And then Red Star Belgrade against Buda Glimt. I've got to be honest, Rory, I was stung badly in the Champions League qualifiers last night. The goals did not flow. Every match went under 2.5. And it was a bad night for me. And there was a lot of chances missed. And I think for the first time, I was just seeing a lot of pressure on the teams. Like, no composure. You could tell there's a lot at stake, $15-20 million if you qualify and get past this round. And I'm struggling to find a bet actually today, a good one in the Champions League. If I had to go with one team, I'll just put it back on there. It would be in the first game. Qarabag is who I would back. They're now -106 on the money line against Dinamo Zagreb. What I've got to say about this game is that they are 3-0 down. So they have to turn around a 3-0 deficit. Dinamo Dinamo Zagreb can lose the game and still go through. So I think it's quite likely. We talked about with Copa Libertadores last week, where teams that are quite a bit behind on aggregate end up winning the second leg, but not doing enough to turn it around. So I could see Qarabag winning this match by 1 goal or 2 goals. They are normally known for being quite strong at home, although they have let me down occasionally in recent times in front of their own fans. Dinamo Zagreb, not always the greatest of travellers. That would be, for me, the best bet of the day in the Champions League qualifying. Qarabag just on the money line, straight up to win. But I wonder how many more of these games might go under, tonight, because last night there was a lot of chances missed. Are there any of those 4 games that would catch your eye, Rory? Or will you be watching any of them? I presume not, because you'll be having your eye on La Liga.
Yeah, I'll probably be keeping an eye on La Liga, but now that I've got a vested interest, I will be probably scanning across to another screen and seeing what's going on. But to piggyback off your logic there, I think I'm going to go with Lille is the one that I kind of want to look at, because I think you're right in what you say, in the sense that some of these teams, they will win the game without necessarily doing enough to turn around the result. I think that could be the case, but those 2 teams, Qarabag and Dinamo Zagreb, strike me as teams that are relatively even, whereas I think Slavia, Prague and Lille do have more quality than them, and they should be able to make this pay. They're 2-0 up from the first leg. And I think in these games, I could see Slavia definitely going ahead. I could see them leading. I could see them being in a position to certainly level the tie, if not win it. But I also can kind of see Lille, when Slavia have to throw caution to the wind, really exploiting on the counter here. I think that's where they'll get their joy. So I see Lille draw or win, plus over 0.5 goals for Lille. That's minus 134. I think that's a nice safe one. If you want to go plus 1.5 goals over 1.5 goals, plus 205, Lille to draw or win, plus over 1.5 goals for Lille. That is really good return on investment if you want to go there. And I think potentially one to keep an eye on kind of in play, especially if you look at 15, 20 minutes of this game, it's back and forth, it's open, then that's the kind of thing that you want to kind of lump your money on. But yeah, I think I like Lille to go through it eventually. So it's about finding ways of getting value. And I think once that game opens up, as it eventually will have to, unless it's 2-2 really early on and on aggregate, I say, then yeah, I think Lille will have the space on the counter.
Yeah, RJ's pick is on Slovan Bratislava on the draw no bet at plus 110. I quite like that wager, actually. I watched the first leg there against the Midtjylland, and the team from Slovakia played quite well. But it means so much now, and I just wonder if the pressure, I could see that being a tie, and actually one of these matches is going to go all the way extra time and penalties. I'll tell you now, it always happens every year. One of these games will go all the way, and it's just a question of identifying which one. Probably the most likely is the Slovan game or the Red Star game against the Bodo Glimt, plus 100 Red Star Belgrade. But I do think Glimt are the better side. If they can just hold their composure when they get their chances, the Norwegians might win that. But tough night for the Champions League ahead. So my best bet is in the early Spain match, Athletic Bilbao against Valencia. Both teams score yes at plus 105. And your best bet in La Liga again?
Yep, it's Real Sociedad to win against Alaves plus under 3.5 goals. That's minus 104. That comes back at Steve.
And a few comments there. Qarabag and both teams to score. Yes, could be a good price, actually. Yeah, they're going to have to go hell for leather, aren't they? Definitely there. Good point. The Champions League draw is apparently tomorrow, actually. It's normally Friday, isn't it? But, I mean, how long is this draw going to be? About 10 hours? Because I was like, do they even need to do a draw? It's like...
It's computer automated, so in theory they could actually just show us the draw as it's already done. But I assume, as we know, UEFA, our good friends, will draw this out as long as possible.
Yeah, I don't think I might watch like the first 10 minutes, but that'll do me. Just some other notable wagers on the sportsbook today. It's on the baseball, nearly $5,000 on the Dodgers. Dodgers Orioles over 8.5 runs. Henry VIII is mentioning the Baltimore Orioles there. He likes the money line at minus 110. It's the Orioles. I suppose they should be my team, actually. My wife's from Baltimore. So I suppose I'm a big Ravens fan, as my helmet shows behind. Never really got into the Orioles. They've always been terrible, I think, throughout my lifetime since I've known my wife. So, so there was also nearly over $2,000 placed on the Cubs money line. And yesterday, $22,000 on the Dodgers, minus 1.5 was down. It was a losing bet, unfortunately. So a big loss there for a bettor. But yeah, thanks for having. Thanks for coming on, Rory. As always, best of luck with all your plays in La Liga tonight and in the Champions League as well. Thanks everyone who joined live and on demand. Really appreciate your comments at the minute, and do hit that like button and hit the subscribe button if you've not already. It really would help the channel out. But back tomorrow and Friday. We've got RJ on tomorrow, and we've got Jack Wright is going to be joining me on Friday, looking ahead to the weekend. But stay safe, everyone. Take care, and remember to gamble responsibly. See you next time.
All the best.